So I have two here. We'll get into the left-right political dichotomy. So regarding the left-right political dichotomy, while certain beliefs can be easily mapped this way, left and right, binary absolutism is limiting. In examining echo chambers on both sides daily, I see similar behavior in different details. We're all human, imagination is endlessly powerful, and there are two evils. So we talk about the lesser of two evils. The next tweet is saying, continuing from there, making the past fit one's desired narrative is a powerful tool used by both sides of any political dichotomy. The differences are in the details. It's an unavoidable tenet of human communication. Facts are as clear as the conscience of the one recording them, and truth is subjective. So we covered a bit of this in the last tweet a couple of moments ago, but I'm going to continue with this and go through this relatively quickly. So while certain beliefs can be easily mapped left and right, you're on the left or you're on the right, binary absolutism is limiting. So we have in this country the Democrats and the Republicans. Now they're really a lot closer. The Overton window of acceptable dialogue is actually a lot smaller than people think. Now we have people like Bernie Sanders that 4-5 years ago expanded that window to include more of that sort of, socialist, Marxist, communistic theory. Now, again, we're talking about, we have embraced a mixed model in this country of the United States of America. A mixed model meaning that there's some capitalism, some socialism, and other economic systems all baked in together like one big fruitcake. So, it's not like you're going, if Bernie Sanders became the president, suddenly you go to socialism. That's not how it works. That's not how it works. When Donald Trump became the president, capitalism got better, but you don't go all the way capitalism. There's plenty of socialism in the government, the lobbyists. Crony capitalism is, in many ways, essentially socialism. When you're spreading the money out and giving it, you're taking government contracts and people are essentially you're turning companies into government workers, into government contracted subsidiaries of the government. Essentially, that is close to that, socialism, government controls all industry concept. Socialism, people talk about the definition of socialism so often because it's very associated with the left. Because on the flawed political compass, you have, left economics and you have right economics. Left economics tend to be more socialistic or communistic, and right economics are like unfettered capitalism. Now, either extreme, unfettered capitalism or unfettered socialism, no good. Binary absolutism is limiting, and we really know, from watching this channel, you may know, the truth lies between the two sides. Which one's better? So I believe that we should have a social safety net of some kind, because people I believe in Social Security. I believe in Medicare. Medicare for all, I think, is a bit of a stretch. It's a stretch. Because, frankly, I believe in cutting the costs more than increasing taxes. I'd rather, people always say they have this fear of, well, if we remove people from entitlement programs, if we remove food stamps, well, that means you're killing those people. You're doing bad things. You're destroying people that are taken off of Social Security. And I say Social Security is not supposed to be the end-all, be-all of your ongoing passive income or your income. It's supposed to be supplemental. You're supposed to save some of that money. You're supposed to have a retirement plan, other sources. If you're living solely off the government dole, that's something that I think a lot of people in this country, especially, and in other countries, libertarians especially, they don't like that. They've been fighting against this sort of government coercion, like the government's a nanny state. You're a ward of the government. If you're disabled, I understand. And my mother gets disability checks. I cash them. I handle her disability stuff. I get it. My grandmother, rest in peace, she was on Social Security. She also had life insurance. She had pension. She had all these things. And nowadays we don't have so much of that. We have 401ks. We have IRAs. We have these options. But this idea that the government's supposed to save us, this government is supposed to save us, I think it's a good idea, social safety net, but I don't think it's the absolute, where you should be throwing people off of private insurance, private health care. People should have choice in America. And socialism, however you wish to define it, democratic socialism, or if you're going to talk about certain parts of Marxist theory and this and that, it's a nuanced topic. We're not going to get into it on this channel. You can certainly seek subject matter experts and get more information on exactly what kind of programs Bernie Sanders and others are looking at when they say they want democratic socialism. But it requires a capitalistic system to work. Socialism requires capitalism to work, otherwise it just doesn't work. And you end up with all the people that were killed. You'll have that argument. It's not a great one, but not a great argument, but hundreds of millions of people, or 100 million people have died due to socialism or communism. That's what people are talking about. That, when you don't have this growth that happens through capitalism, it just eats itself. It's inward looking. Top down, you need to have bottom up economy. Expansion, like a big web just getting bigger and bigger. That's what it's supposed to be. So I don't like to get into, people will say like, well, you're a libertarian, you don't like, I'm not a complete libertarian either, but they'll make this argument to libertarians. They'll say, well, you want to get rid of socialism, but what about roads? What about fire departments and police departments? And I think that minarchists have a pretty good philosophy in my mind, because they just want to keep order. They want to have a government that keeps order. Military, police, fire. They want there to be taxes. I'm not saying minarchists do, but if you're pragmatic, you might say we need to have taxes to pay for these things that everybody uses, these public utilities, these public roads, these public things. Of course, you pay into the state takes care of that, and if it all worked in an ideal world, a rational world, not the human perception world that is irrational, where we make mistakes, we do things based on emotion sometimes that we shouldn't. Ultimately, I do think it works pretty well to have a little bit of socialism, some capitalism, and let it work as a mixed model. So, left and right, people are often talking about the economic part. And then, of course, I think it's truly a false dichotomy, though, when you talk about social issues. Because the right has been redefined over the years. The left has been redefined. And generally speaking, people will go, well, social issues. And it's true. The majority of people that are against abortion are on the right. And the majority of the people that are for abortion rights, which I am, I'm pro-abortion. I'm pro-choice, but it's less sophistry to say pro-abortion. They're mostly on the left. So you can easily map these beliefs out, but ultimately the binary absolutism is very limiting. And what's happened is people tend to just, some people that are more collectively minded, they tend to just judge by the label. You're on the left, therefore. You're on the right, therefore. And there's no nuance there. There's no individual agency. There's no individual understanding of who people are, other than, oh, you're a male, you're white, you're black, you're Hispanic, oh, you're straight, oh, you're Muslim, so you're this, or you're Hindu, so you're that, oh, you're a gamer, I'm a gamer, oh, you're an artist, oh, you're a philosopher, you're an economist, oh, you're a performance, you're into performance art, so therefore, people just take a label and they let their pattern recognition do the rest, and it makes life easier to navigate, makes society easier to navigate, but frankly, I find it rather limiting. So I say, create your own label, create your own brand, and that way we can all be very unique. So, in examining echo chambers on both sides daily, so I try to keep 1 foot or more in different echo chambers every day. Like, I don't just listen to the left, I don't just listen to the right, I don't just listen to the alt center. I listen to everybody a little bit. Now, there's certain messaging that's a little bit overplayed. I don't need to hear Orange Man bad every single day 500,000 times. I also don't need to hear about how Barack Obama, who I voted for twice, is the Antichrist, or Bill Clinton, as my parents told me many years ago. I don't need that in my life. The negativity and the counterintuitive nature of that messaging, where you take somebody that, half the country voted for, and then say, Orange Man bad. Everything he does is bad. He's a malevolent force that is destroying the world. I mean, no one's perfect. But there is a level of derangement I haven't seen ever before. And going into 2020, I think it's kind of fading a little bit. But I haven't seen things like this since they said that Obama was born in Kenya and all this other stuff. Where's the birth certificate? And then people will say, well, you support Trump. You support Trump, and Trump was looking for the birth certificate. I think Hillary Clinton was the one that initially had a photo of Barack Obama in African attire. Thank you very much. This is politics, folks. It's a post-truth realm. Don't expect things to make sense all the time. Don't expect hypocrisy to go away. So I do see similar behavior on both the right and the left. Try to avoid it as much as possible, but sometimes it's fun to get involved. And it's just the details that are different. Instead of being against capitalism and against having a border wall on the left, wanting the true open borders, we actually have open borders right now and people can come and go. Closed borders is what North Korea has. But they have like open borders. They want open borders. They want to have illegal immigrants coming in. I believe it. Because they're trying to be altruistic. But then on the right, it's the exact opposite, and it goes back and forth. All these issues, every wedge issue, it's pretty much everything gets divided. Climate change. The left is all about climate doom, and the right's like, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. We'll make the fracking process cleaner. We'll develop Generation 4 nuclear, and thank God both sides are getting on board with nuclear energy. Because don't be afraid by the propaganda piece that is Chernobyl. It's a good thing. It's cleaner, it's safer, it's powerful. And Generation 4, nuclear energy, the nuclear waste can be used for fuel, and Generation 4 never melts down. So people are always scared. It's small, it's modular, but it doesn't melt down. People are always scared that you're going to have like a giant Chernobyl-like accident. And with Generation 4 and Generation 3 nuclear, it doesn't happen. In fact, it uses this nuclear waste for fuel as well, so it's extra efficient with about a 90% yield. Right now in this country, we are still using about 30% coal for our power. So, I think the right sees that. It just doesn't go alarmist over it. And that's why I say it's a bit of a modern religion. And you see that day to day. So ultimately, at the end of the day, we are all human. Imagination is endlessly powerful. And there's always two evils. We have two evils. One on the right, one on the left. Or one on the left, I should say, to keep the to keep the frame correct. They're on the left and they're on the right. And then, of course, now we're seeing this thing on the in the Democratic race with Bernie Sanders and Mini Mike. You have this idea, some people are saying, the lesser of two evils. There's no candidate I like. Democrats are stuck. There's no candidate I like all the way, so I have to choose between the lesser of two evils. I can either get the relatively unelectable socialist or the completely uncharismatic billionaire to save us from Orange Man. It's got to be tough, guys. It's got to be tough. But imagination is endlessly powerful. I think I need to reiterate that because we always go to the worst case scenario when we're talking about those. We tend to go to the worst case scenario We're talking about those that we have a negative outlook on. Like, we don't know the full details, so we fill in the gaps with our imagination. And we go ahead and we just, I don't know, I'm just going to assume the worst. That's human nature. We do that all the time. And it's kind of a survivalistic protective mechanism. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's still not accurate to reality. So making the past fit one's desired narrative is a powerful tool used by both sides of any political dichotomy. So, of course, people do reframe and rewrite the past. They try to get rid of certain information. Of course, sophistry is all about. In Sophistry School, my video on BitChute and YouTube, you can learn that Sophistry School doesn't have this line in it, but I do talk about how you can stack contradictions and limit information. And that way, you can confuse people that are less well-read, less knowledgeable on a subject, and get them to do what you want. If you're a sophist, you can mislead them. Making the past fit one's desired narrative, you'd have to remove information. You'd have to make sure that certain people are discredited. Sometimes you'll actually see hundreds of years later, oh, Gandhi was a misogynist. You'll see people that are can be discredited hundreds of years later. And then, of course, from there, if it latches on, if it sticks, if it's sticky, people will then go, well, I can't listen to anything they ever said. It's always, over time, the further you get from the events and the more everybody that was alive then that can tell the true story, or the truer story, they're dead. So you're looking at books, and at that point you're basically just making sure there are historians that want to preserve history, and they want to keep things as complete as possible. And then there are historians that aren't really historians, they're more sophists that wish to eliminate certain information and then to go through and reframe everything that you do see. And ultimately, you don't really know what happened 200 years ago. I don't know what happened 100 years ago. Nobody that wasn't alive then experiencing it at the time. And we even experience this today. People talk to me about Russia, Putin, Kremlin, Moscow, Tulsi Gabbard, Jill Stein, Roger Stone, Trump Tower, Putin, Russia, Kremlin. They don't even remember 3 or 4 years ago when a lot of this was discredited. This has been a hoax for many years. But the thing is, over time, you have to kind of be there. You have to be experiencing the information as it comes in, the timing of everything as it comes in, really watching it. Because if you weren't there, you're just coming in now, you're going, well, here it goes again, Russian interference. By the way, everybody, public service announcement. Every country in the world has an opinion and a stake in some fashion on every other country's election in the world. Russia can want a candidate. China can want us to have a candidate. We can want China to have a certain president. We can want Australia. We can want anybody. The EU to be run by certain people. Now, interference is obviously not great. It's corrupt. It's wrong. It's immoral. In interfering in democratic elections. But every country does it. That's your PSA for today. Every country does it on some level. It's just that we've decided to focus on Russia, and say that Russia specifically, despite the fact that Barack Obama had a good and flexible relationship with them, this is being used as a bludgeon, despite the fact that Bill Clinton gave a $500,000 speech to a Moscow investment bank. Hillary Clinton still used this attack because it's effective. People are still parroting Russiagate today. I actually have canceled making videos because I thought that, I'm going to talk about Russia. Russia's a dead issue, isn't it? It's a dead Red Scare hoax, isn't it? No. I wasted videos for nothing. But that's fine. So the differences are in the details between the two sides when they try to change the past. You have to have a reason. You change the past to affect the present, which affects the future. That's what happens. You change the narrative, and over time, dividends are paid out. And it's not partisan. It's bipartisan. It's both sides. It's all sides of the political sphere that do this. And it's an unavoidable tenet of human communication. Really, it really is. It's like the facts are as clear as the conscience of the one recording them. And truth is subjective. So if somebody is coming into writing history, if they're recording the facts way back when they happened, and they're not telling the truth then, because they're trying to, spin, as they call it. Check out my new tweet, Gone with the Spin, for more on that. It's actually just a satire tweet, but you can definitely check it out. And the facts are as clear as the conscience of the one recording them. If they don't have a clear conscience and they're recording things inaccurately for their own benefit or for the benefit of others that they know, if there's some kind of cronyism going on, some kind of corruption going on in the person that's recording facts, you're not going to know the full truth. You'll never know. If at the time of the event it wasn't being recorded correctly, you'd need eyewitness testimony from somebody else. You'd need empirical evidence from somebody else that can be verified. And so truth is in many ways largely subjective. Not in a hard sense. I do talk about this in my new video, The Truth About Post-Truth. Truth is largely subjective. There are some hard scientific truths that we cannot escape that are true, that are verified, that have veracity, and they hold merit. But in many ways, things that happen in history, we don't really know the truth. We just go by what is written. And if the person writing the history books had a poor conscience, you're going to have a poor journal of what really happened.